3 hours before the wedding. My fiancé said he wouldn't come to pick me up. Instead, he turned around and got the marriage certificate with Maggie, enduring the gossip of the Kerwinists. Matthew, my fiancé's uncle, pushed open the door of the hotel. He led the most luxurious wedding procession, presented 9,999 roses, and said that he had been secretly in love with me for years and dreamed of marrying me. I was touched that he saved me from embarrassment and immediately nodded in agreement. 3 years into the marriage, I had 7 miscarriages, and it was only with great difficulty that I became pregnant again. Matthew, feeling both heartbroken and happy, picked me up and spun me around, telling me to take good care of the baby in my womb. He said he would do everything to treat me and the baby well with his life. 3 months into the pregnancy, I happened to overhear his conversation with the private doctor. Mr. Matthew, just like the previous 7 times, the abortion pill for Madam has been put into the milk. I don't understand. Maggie was able to give birth to your child. Why can't Madam? Matthew laughed self-deprecatingly and said, only by having an heir can one take over the group. Luther is infertile. How could I bear to let Maggie suffer in the future? It turned out that those so-called affectionate vows were just a lie. Since that's the case, I'll just leave. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. You're not only giving up the opportunity to become the next chairman of the group, but you're also losing the 7 children you and Madam had, said the doctor. You've always asked me to forge the young master's medical examination report. He still doesn't know that he's infertile. When the child is born in the future, he won't even be able to call you Dad. Is it really worth it? Matthew's expression was affectionate yet melancholy. So what? Since I couldn't let Maggie marry me back then, I'll protect her happiness for the rest of her life. No one can destroy it. Not even the child between me and Catherine. The doctor hesitated a bit. But Madam has already had 7 miscarriages. If there's one more, I'm afraid she won't be able to get pregnant again in the future. Matthew pursed his lips and after a while, he said, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I'll take care of her for the rest of her life. The veins on the back of my hand, which was gripping the study door handle, bulged, and my hand trembled uncontrollably. Before Matthew could notice me, I stumbled back to the bedroom in a daze and slid down to the floor. I had always thought that it was because of my weak constitution that I couldn't carry the baby to term, which led to 7 miscarriages in 3 years. And Matthew's father had already made it clear that whether it was him or his grandson Luther, whoever had an heir first would become the next chairman of the group. Due to multiple miscarriages in a short period, my body was severely damaged. Even so, I had never complained about anything. Instead, I even felt guilty, thinking that I was holding Matthew back. It turned out that those affectionate vows were just a lie. To prevent me from suspecting, he didn't even use contraception, allowing my health to be depleted time and time again. In his eyes, my body and my dead children were nothing but obstacles on Maggie's path to happiness. Catherine, why are you sitting on the floor? Matthew walked into the bedroom and quickly helped me up. Looking concerned, it's okay. I just had a bit of morning sickness. He gently stroked my back with heartbroken, trying to make it easier for me to breathe. Wife, you've been through so much. Next time you feel sick from the morning sickness, remember to call me. Don't bear it alone. I'll be heartbroken. You haven't been sleeping well since you got pregnant. When the baby is born in the future, I'll have to spank his bottom hard for not caring about his mother. Here, have a glass of warm milk. It'll help you sleep. Looking at the glass of milk, a pang of pain shot through my heart. Would there really be a next time? Before each of my previous miscarriages, he was like this, either attentively preparing me a midnight snack or personally making a serving of my favorite fruit salad. I thought it was a sign of his love for me, but it turned out to be just the disguise of an executioner. Husband, I don't like the taste of milk. Can I not drink it? Matthew smiled helplessly, but his tone was firm. Catherine, don't be naughty. The doctor said that the more you don't like something, it means that's exactly what your body lacks. If you don't sleep well, the baby won't be able to rest either. You love the baby the most, don't you? Be a good girl. For the sake of our baby, husband will feed it to you. He half coaxed and half forced the rim of the cup against my lips, not giving me any chance to refuse. Matthew, are you really that afraid that my child will stand in Maggie's way? Or is it that in your heart, you only want her to give birth to your child? I closed my eyes in despair and drank the entire glass of milk clean. In less than half an hour, the medicine started to take effect. I curled up on the bed in pain, sweating profusely. Matthew had just finished calling the private doctor, and the next moment, he entered the room. Clearly, he had been waiting outside, even though I had experienced it 7 times before. Losing the child again still made my heart ache. In a daze of pain, I heard the doctor say, "Mr. Matthew, Madam's bleeding this time is heavier than in any of the previous miscarriages. I'm afraid her body is completely damaged, and she won't be able to have children anymore." Matthew didn't say anything. With red-rimmed eyes, he held me in his arms. "Catherine, don't worry. Even if we don't have children, I still love you. I'll take care of you for the rest of my life." The president, who had been used to having everything served to him since childhood, personally helped me clean up the bloodstains on my body. Afraid that I would feel cold after the miscarriage, he held me tightly in his arms while we slept. Late at night, Matthew, who was sound asleep, mumbled in his dream, "Maggie, don't be afraid. I will definitely help you find happiness." The tears that I had held back for so long finally burst out at this moment. At the wedding all those years ago, he also said he would give me happiness, but it was just a lie to pacify me and prevent me from disturbing Maggie. I suddenly realized that my marriage all these years had been a complete joke. I sent a text message to my best friend who was abroad. "You said last time that you wanted me to accompany you on a round-the-world trip. I've thought about it, and I'll go to Country F to find you the day after tomorrow." Putting down the phone, my lower abdomen still felt uncomfortable, thinking that I had just lost another child, and it was even killed by his own father. My heart ached so much that it was hard to breathe. I locked myself in the bathroom, recalling the bits and pieces of my years with Matthew. I let the tears flow freely. When I stood up, my phone accidentally dropped to the floor. I bent down to pick it up and found that there was something under the sink cabinet, wrapped layer by layer in expensive silk, as if it was extremely cherished. After opening it, I found that it was a thick photo album. It was a photo album containing all of Maggie's photos from the age of 15 to her current age of 28. I had seen the cover of the photo album in Matthew's office before, and Matthew was very fond of photography. Although Matthew was Luther's uncle, he was only a few years older than us. When we were young, he often looked at me and Luther making a ruckus with a cold expression, as if he was too lazy to participate in the childish games among kids. It was not until the year Maggie was 15 that she took the initiative to be friends with me. Without thinking much, since she was always alone, I introduced her to Luther and Matthew as well. It seemed that from that time on, Matthew began to join our activities and also started learning photography. I thought it was because the young man had changed his temperament as he grew up, but it turned out that he had met the person he liked. Among the photos in the album, only a few were ones that I had seen. Most of them were moments that I hadn't even noticed. Maggie's every frown, every smile, every look of anger, even just the moment when she tied up her hair, were all captured by Matthew in his camera. Since we got married, Matthew had never touched a camera again. Once I asked him to take a maternity photo for me, but he said that he had lost his camera and then introduced me to a well-known photographer instead. It turned out that it wasn't lost. It was just that his camera could only hold the person he loved. My eyes were dry, and I couldn't shed another tear. I silently put the photo album back. I bought a plane ticket on my phone and drafted a divorce agreement. Since he loved Maggie so much, I would fulfill his wish. The next morning, my eyes were as swollen as walnuts. Matthew was very heartbroken. After personally making me a nutritious meal, he boiled an egg, carefully peeled it, and helped me reduce the swelling. His attentive and considerate appearance almost made me wonder if what happened last night was just a dream. But my empty lower abdomen reminded me that everything was real. Seeing that I didn't take a bite, he sighed. "Catherine, we lost our child. I know you're sad. And I'm sad too. But you also need to take care of your body. You've had so many miscarriages over the years, and your body is already in a bad state. Eat more. Don't make me worry. Okay, where's the baby's body? I want to see him." At 3 months, my baby should have taken shape, but he would never have the chance to come into this world. And the answer I got was the same as the previous 7 times. "I've already had someone bury the baby properly. You're in a bad mood now, and I'm afraid you'll be even more heartbroken if you see it. Mom and Dad know that you had another miscarriage, and they're really sad too. Let's go back to the old mansion for dinner today and visit them by the way." As soon as we entered the old mansion, we saw Maggie clinging to my mother-in-law's arm and acting coquettishly. When she saw me, she stuck out her belly even more triumphantly. "Catherine, you're here. Long time no see. Have a seat. I heard you had another miscarriage." Don't overwork yourself. Since the incident at the wedding, I had already fallen out with Luther and Maggie. Usually, when I came to the old mansion, I would choose the times when they weren't there. I didn't expect to be so unlucky today. I looked at her 6-month pregnant belly and thought that this was Matthew's child. My heart ached. He had never allowed the children in my belly to live beyond 3 months. When my mother-in-law saw me, her face immediately darkened. You useless thing. You can't even keep a baby in your belly. How many times is this already? And you still have the nerve to say you're tired. What on earth did my son see in you? She was Matthew's biological mother but Luther's step-grandmother. She was only 50 years old, watching the position of the chairman of the group, which originally belonged to her son, being taken away by Luther. How could she not be angry? In the past, Matthew would defend me, but now his eyes were only on Maggie. His eyes were full of yearning and infatuation, and he couldn't even hear what others were saying. Grandma, don't be angry. Catherine just doesn't have the luck to be a mother. She didn't want to lose so many children either, said Maggie. My mother-in-law snorted coldly. She's a jinx. She's just dragging my son down. Maggie pretended to plead for me and tried to pull me to sit down, but as soon as she stood up, she swayed. Even though she quickly steadied herself, Matthew pushed me away, regardless of his parents being present. He held her in his arms and asked worriedly, Maggie, are you okay? You're pregnant. Why did you come out by yourself? Where's Luther? Maggie smiled sweetly. Luther went on a business trip to the United States. He's about to take over as the chairman and is extremely busy. She looked at me with a provocative gaze and said to Matthew, Matthew, I think I sprained my ankle just now. It hurts so much. Without saying a word, Matthew picked her up in a princess carry and rushed straight to the bedroom on the second floor. Not even glancing at me, my mother-in-law gave me a meaningful look and sneered. Not only can't you have children, but you can't even keep your man. If Luther hadn't married Maggie first, would my son have taken a fancy to you? You still have the nerve to eat. Go upstairs. I lose my appetite just looking at you. I had always known that my mother-in-law didn't like me. She thought I was a woman that Luther didn't want but had pestered her son, bringing shame to Matthew. And because of my several miscarriages, she disliked me even more. But since she was Matthew's mother and I also thought it was my fault for not being able to carry the baby, I felt guilty. Moreover, Matthew would say a few words for me, so I endured it every time. But now, Matthew was too busy caring about Maggie. How could he still think of me? For a moment, I really wanted to tell the truth, but in the end, I gave up. Since I had already decided to leave, why waste my breath? I walked upstairs without saying a word and found that Maggie's door wasn't completely closed. Somehow, I walked over. I saw Maggie lying on the bed with her clothes in disarray, and Matthew was on top of her. Matthew, you're the one who loves me the most. Luther is infertile. If Catherine gives birth to a child, he won't be able to inherit the group, and I'll have to suffer a lot in the future, said Maggie. Matthew was breathing slightly heavily, and there was a hint of lust in the corners of his eyes. Does Luther treat you well? Has he ever bullied you? No. Since I got pregnant, he dotes on me like I'm the most precious thing in the world. He's afraid I'll get tired and even washes my feet for me himself. He's even more gentle with me in bed, Maggie replied. Matthew's expression was a bit bitter. As long as he treats you well and you can be happy, I have no regrets. Luther, you've helped me so much. Since I can't marry you, I'll give myself to you. Tonight, I'm yours. Matthew completely lost control and his movements became more forceful. The two of them rolled together frantically. I had never known that Matthew, who was always cold and self-restrained, could also lose his mind like this. Tears streamed down my face, and I returned to the bedroom. Matthew didn't come back all night. The next day, he looked at me apologetically. Catherine, I originally wanted to go back and accompany you last night, but Mom kept me talking all night, and I really couldn't get away. I didn't expose his lie and turned around to wait for him at the door. A bucket of swill with leftover food was poured over my head. Maggie suddenly appeared in front of me, still holding the swill bucket in her hand. Catherine, wasn't it nice to see Matthew being crazy on me? She said with a provocative smile. So she had left the door open on purpose. The taste of a miscarriage isn't pleasant, is it? But you won't have that worry anymore. After all, you can't have children anymore. You even had the audacity to get pregnant again and again, trying to snatch the position of the chairman's wife of the Kerwin Group from me. Stop daydreaming. Matthew not only gave up the qualification to inherit the group for me but also helped me get pregnant. Even those children of yours who died have become my nourishment. I suddenly raised my head, my voice trembling. What did you say? Otherwise, what did you think? Why did Matthew always tell you that the child had been buried and wouldn't let you see it every time you had a miscarriage? Of course, it's because I told him that eating it would be good for my body, Maggie said. Despair, anger, and disbelief flooded into my mind all at once. So this was the reason why Matthew wouldn't let me see the child. For Maggie. How could he go to such lengths? Maggie gloated and laughed. Don't put on that wronged look. Who can you blame? If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being useless. With a useless mother like you, your children only deserve to become the nourishment for my child. I couldn't bear it anymore and raised my hand, slapping towards Maggie's face. Slap. The slap didn't land on her face. Matthew pulled Maggie behind him and took the slap for her. He pushed me to the ground forcefully and said angrily, Catherine, what are you doing? Maggie cried pitifully. Matthew. I just wanted to comfort Catherine and told her not to be sad about the child. But she was actually jealous of my pregnancy and said that I stole the position of the future chairman's wife from her. She wanted to pour the swill on me. I instinctively pushed her away. I didn't mean to do it and already apologized to her. But she wanted to hit me and said that she must make me have a miscarriage. Before I could explain, Matthew looked at me with a dark face. Catherine, I never knew before that you were such a vain woman. You couldn't keep the child. That's your own fault. Why take it out on Maggie and let down her kindness? Don't covet things that don't belong to you. Apologize to Maggie quickly. I'm useless. Heh. I looked at his face and suddenly felt as if I was looking at a stranger. Matthew, tell me. Where did you send the bodies of my dead children? Matthew frowned. Of course. They were buried. Didn't I already tell you that? His acting skills were really good. Matthew, you're right. I shouldn't covet things that don't belong to me. Don't worry. I won't go against Maggie anymore in the future. After saying that, I turned around and left without hesitation. Matthew looked at my back and suddenly felt a pang of anxiety in his heart. He wanted to call me back, but Maggie held him back. Matthew. The swill splashed on me, and I feel a bit nauseous. Can you take me to the hospital? Matthew hesitated for 2 seconds, but in the end, he didn't chase after me. When I got home, I found all the things that Matthew had given me over the years and threw them into the brazier. Just as I took out the marriage certificate, the notification rang. I opened it and took a look. Catherine, I just said I felt a bit nauseous. And Matthew was so worried that he invited the most renowned obstetricians and gynecologists from all over the country for me, even if they weren't in the local area. He didn't hesitate to use a helicopter to pick them up. Aren't you jealous? I ignored her and watched as the marriage certificate was engulfed by the flames and turned into ashes. I wasn't worried at all that Matthew would see it, because I knew that he wouldn't come back tonight. Sure enough, Matthew called. Catherine, Maggie's pregnancy was affected, and Luther isn't at home. As her uncle, I have to help him take care of Maggie. Don't be angry. Thinking of the Instagram photo that Maggie had sent earlier, where she was eating the fruit that Matthew had cut for her with a rosy complexion and didn't look the least bit uncomfortable. I said, okay, I understand. The pregnant woman is the priority. Take good care of her. Matthew paused and said softly, Catherine, I didn't mean to be harsh on you today. I know you're in a bad mood because we lost the child. But Maggie is pregnant after all. And that's the blood of the Kerwin family. You and I can no longer carry on the family line. If something happens to Maggie, I'm afraid Mom and Dad won't be able to bear it. I found it ridiculous. Why did he have to make so many excuses? Stay at home obediently. Tomorrow is your birthday. I've booked the best hotel and also prepared a surprise for you. I'll come back to pick you up tomorrow morning. Until noon the next day. Matthew still hadn't come back. I placed the signed divorce agreement on the table and set a timed sending for a recording file. The recipient was Matthew. After doing all this, I carried my luggage and went to the airport. As soon as I arrived at the airport, Matthew called again. Sorry, Catherine. Several business partners suddenly came to the company to discuss the clothing cooperation for the next quarter, and I really can't get away. I'll ask my secretary to pick you up and take you to the hotel. Didn't you always want me to design a dress for you? I've already designed it for you. You'll definitely look great in it later. Okay. After hanging up the phone, my gaze fell on 2 girls beside me. They were looking at photos on their phones and said enviously, God, I can't believe that President Matthew is not only handsome but also designs such beautiful maternity clothes. I even want to get pregnant. Do you think you can buy them just by getting pregnant? All the clothes at today's fashion show were specially designed by President Matthew for his pregnant wife. Each piece is unique and made of the most expensive fabric. There are probably hundreds of them. I'm afraid the child won't be able to wear them all even after it's born. I'm so envious. I heard that President Matthew is afraid of disturbing his wife. So this exhibition isn't open to the public. Your boyfriend is really amazing. He can be a supervisor in the Kerwin group and take internal photos for us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to see these photos. In the picture, Maggie was holding Matthew's arm, walking among the gorgeous clothes specially designed for her, with a flamboyant and unrestrained smile. The Kerwin group was in the clothing industry, and Matthew's design talent was outstanding. I used to act coquettishly towards him and ask him to design a dress for me. He always said he was busy and couldn't spare the time, but he designed hundreds of pieces for Maggie. Thinking of him saying that he had designed a dress for me as a surprise just now, with that tone of seeking credit, I felt it was ironic. It was time to board the plane. I turned off my phone and boarded the flight to a foreign country. After Matthew accompanied Maggie to choose the clothes, he went to the hotel for the birthday banquet. He thought that Catherine would look like an angel when she appeared in that dress, but he didn't wait for Catherine. Instead, he waited for his secretary, who looked flustered. Mr. Matthew. Something's wrong. Madam is missing. Matthew looked at the dress that he had asked his secretary to send, which was brought back untouched. He didn't understand what he meant for a moment and frowned, saying, "What do you mean she's missing? Isn't Madam at home?" "I'm afraid it's not just that she's not at home." The secretary handed him the divorce agreement with a complicated expression. Matthew was stunned. Before he could speak, Maggie walked over, holding her belly. Seeing the divorce agreement, she sneered. "Catherine is really funny. How old is she? She's still playing this breakup game. Does she think she's a young girl?" "Matthew, she's just angry that you protected me yesterday. She knows that you specially held a birthday party for her, so she wants to play hard to get and make you bow to her. Catherine has always been like this, stringing other men along. I know her too well. Really, she was the one who hit me first. How can she have the nerve to show a sour face? She doesn't even think about how much effort you put into holding a birthday party for her and designing a dress for her. She's really heartless. Don't worry, Matthew. If you ignore her, she'll show up on her own after a while. She's an old woman in her late 30s. She's had so many miscarriages and can't have children anymore. Who else would want her if she leaves you? She's eager to cling to you. All those who grovel for love are like this. You just can't spoil her, or she'll get carried away." Matthew didn't say anything but stared fixedly at the divorce agreement. In the column for the woman's name, the two characters, Catherine, were written with extraordinary force, almost piercing through the paper. One could tell how determined she was when she signed it. He knew Catherine. She would never joke about such a thing. Shortly after they got married, Catherine became pregnant with his first child. At that time, he was sitting on the sofa with Catherine, scrolling through videos. They came across a video where a girl would threaten her husband with divorce every time they quarreled, and the boy would obediently admit his mistake. Matthew looked down on such a method. He hated being threatened by others the most. Catherine then said to him seriously, "Matthew, since I married you, I will never say divorce easily, but if one day I do say it, it means that I really want to leave you." At that time, he was only thinking about how to get rid of the child in Catherine's belly because Maggie had come to him crying, saying that Luther was infertile and that if he couldn't become the chairman of the Kerwin group, she would suffer. So he didn't take those words to heart. Now that he thought about it, Matthew couldn't stop feeling anxious. After Maggie finished speaking, the Kerwinists around also showed mocking looks. Those mocking looks were not aimed at him but at Catherine, because Catherine had had several miscarriages. People in the circle secretly called her the goddess of miscarriage. Matthew had heard such rumors before and always laughed it off indifferently. But now he felt that those looks were so annoying, and he also began to be dissatisfied with Maggie. Today was Catherine's birthday. Did she really need to say those things about her in front of so many people? Others might not know why Catherine had miscarriages, but didn't she know? Matthew's face darkened slightly. "Maggie, Catherine is your aunt. Is it appropriate for you to always call her by her name?" Maggie was taken aback and felt a bit embarrassed. I'm used to it. After all, Catherine is also my friend." "Is that so? I've known Catherine longer than you. From childhood to adulthood. She has never been a person who grovels for love or strings any man along. Even when you stole Luther away, she didn't pester him. Why are you saying these things about her? Is this what you call a friend?" Matthew looked around. Today's banquet is cancelled. I'm going to find my wife. You can all do as you please. Maggie quickly grabbed him and used the same old trick. Matthew, I'm not feeling well in my stomach. Don't leave. Matthew, who had always given in to her every request, didn't buy it this time. He had always thought that Maggie was a delicate flower who needed his protection. But her words just now had completely subverted her image in his heart. Matthew pulled his hand away and said indifferently, "If you're not feeling well, go see a doctor. Luther should be back from abroad today. You should ask your husband to accompany you. After all, I'm your uncle. I've done everything I can for you. From now on, you and Luther can go your own way. It's over between us. I'm going to find Catherine now. Also, I don't want to hear those words again in the future. Don't take advantage of Catherine and then slander her. You'd better think carefully about what you do." After saying that, he left without looking back. As soon as he got home, the private doctor called him. "Mr. Matthew, wasn't the fashion show you held for Maggie private? Why has it spread all over the world? What if Madam sees it? She just had a miscarriage not long ago and can't be stimulated." Matthew then realized that someone had secretly taken photos of him and Maggie to gain traffic and posted them online. Then, did Catherine see them too? A message suddenly came from his email. It was a recording email from Catherine. Matthew opened it happily, but his face turned pale instantly after hearing the content. So that night, Catherine knew everything. No wonder she had begged him so pitifully not to let her drink that glass of milk. But what had he done? "Hello, Mr. Matthew. Are you listening? If you have time, remember to bring Madam for a follow-up examination. She can't go." "What?" Matthew's voice choked up a bit. "Catherine knows everything. She's gone." At this time, I had already arrived on the other side of the ocean. As soon as I got off the plane, I saw my best friend Flora, whom I hadn't seen for a long time, from a distance. After hearing the whole story, Flora was so angry that she rolled up her sleeves and was about to rush back to the country to fight it out with Matthew and Maggie. I held her back. "Forget it, Flora. I've already left the divorce agreement. I don't want to have anything to do with them anymore in the future." Flora hugged me with heartache. "It's okay. It's better to leave that scumbag. Otherwise, you might not even know when you'll be killed by him. Let him and that bitch Maggie be together. You're beautiful and talented. When we were in university, so many directors were vying for the scripts you wrote. If it weren't for that bastard Matthew, you would already be a top screenwriter." I felt a pang of bitterness in my heart. Flora and I both majored in screenwriting back then and were rated by the teachers in the department as the two future stars in the screenwriting industry. Flora was a celibitarian and flew to Australia to develop as soon as she graduated. And as soon as I married Matthew, I became pregnant with my first child. Matthew, under the pretext of being worried about my safety, didn't let me go out to work and asked me to stay at home and take care of the baby. From then on, I fell into the nightmare of constantly getting pregnant and having miscarriages. Fortunately, now I have climbed out of that nightmare. Flora said that she still had a project and couldn't handle it alone. She hoped that I could cooperate with her and we would split the profits 50-50. I nodded with a smile. After all, being a screenwriter was also my dream. But before that, let's have a great time. Anyway, we can write the script anywhere. I made a lot of money from my last drama. You can enjoy the good life with me. A round-the-world trip was the promise we made when we were in university. Now it could finally be fulfilled. While Flora and I were running around the world, having fun and enjoying food, Matthew in the country had gone crazy looking for me. He had never missed work before, but he hadn't been to the company for a long time. Luther was preparing to take over the position of chairman and was desperately trying to show off in front of old Master Kerwin. Unfortunately, some projects were under Matthew's responsibility, and only he knew the details. However, he neither went to the company nor answered his phone calls, leaving Luther in a rather passive situation. He made several mistakes in decision-making, which led to old Master Kerwin severely rebuking him, and the matter of taking over the position of chairman was postponed. Maggie, with her big belly, came to find Matthew, hoping that he would go back to the company and lend a hand. After all, she didn't want to let the opportunity slip through her fingers. "Matthew, haven't you found Catherine yet? She's really gone too far this time. There should be a limit to her temper tantrums. Just because of her, the company is in chaos, and it's making you so tired." "Shut up. I don't want to deal with you. Are you still pushing your luck? The company is in chaos because Luther is incompetent. What does it have to do with Catherine?" Matthew roared. He had never been harsh on Maggie before, let alone sworn at her. Maggie was taken aback, pouted with tears in her eyes. Matthew, I'm just worried about you. Why are you being so mean to me? You scared me. Matthew sneered, suddenly grabbed her neck, and smiled menacingly. Maggie, what are you still pretending for in front of me? You're scared. You even dared to eat Catherine's flesh and blood as nutrition. Do you really expect me to believe you're scared? What nutrition? Matthew, I don't understand what you're talking about. Maggie's expression was a bit flustered. Matthew had expected her to act like this and played the surveillance footage from the entrance of the old mansion. Maggie was so arrogant and confident that she had forgotten there was surveillance at the entrance of the old mansion. You've been pretending to be weak in front of me all these years. Right in front of me. You pretended to care about Catherine, but behind my back, you bullied her like this. If it weren't for the words you said at the birthday party, I wouldn't have realized until now how hypocritical you are. Because of your hypocrisy, I killed the children between Catherine and me again and again, making her unable to have children anymore. I deserve to die, and I admit it. But you actually dared to bribe the people around me too, and even deliberately provoked Catherine. She doesn't pose any threat to you anymore. Why can't you just let her go? With the truth exposed, Maggie couldn't defend herself and could only cry and plead for mercy. Matthew, I had my reasons. The master I consulted said that only by eating those could I give birth to a boy. Only a boy could secure my position. I really had no other choice. Enough. All you think about is your position and your status as the chairman's wife. Have you ever thought about Catherine? Why did you tell her that I gave the children to you? Isn't it because you wanted to force her to leave me and make me be your devoted follower? You want to give birth to a boy and become the chairman's wife, right? Maggie, I'll make you understand what it feels like to lose the most precious thing. Matthew clapped his hands, and several people in white coats walked in, looking fierce. There was full of fear in Maggie's eyes. What are you going to do? I'm your niece's wife, the future chairman's wife. There's your blood in my belly. You can't touch me. Matthew smiled like a devil from hell. Chairman's wife. Do you still think you can sit in that position after you forced Catherine away? Remove the filthy thing in her body. Don't give her anesthesia. Then, make her eat it raw. Those people dragged Maggie away. After a while, her screams echoed throughout the villa. When we were traveling in Iceland, Flora and I both fell in love with the aurora here. Such dazzling beauty was so magnificent that even the most skilled photographer couldn't capture 1/10 of its stunning splendor. After discussion, we decided to stay here temporarily and start working on the script by the way. In addition to writing the script, I also fell in love with sea fishing and often sold the caught fish at the port. One day, Flora and I were haggling with a stingy uncle over a fish. Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded. I'll buy all these seafood. Matthew appeared in front of me just like that. He looked at me with obsession and attachment. It took him a long time to speak softly, as if he was afraid of breaking a dream. Catherine, I've finally found you. Before I could say anything, Flora turned into a fighter, protecting me behind her and cursing at Matthew. You scumbag. How dare you come to find Catherine? Aren't you satisfied with how much you've hurt her? Get lost. We'd rather feed these things to the dogs than sell them to you. Matthew, who cared so much about his face, didn't retort even though he was severely scolded. He looked at me with guilt and pleaded. Catherine, I know I'm a beast. I'm sorry for you. Can we talk alone? I said indifferently. Matthew, the relationship between you and me is no longer the kind where we can talk alone. You don't need to apologize to me. Go back. Matthew stubbornly shook his head. No, Catherine, I've finally found you. How can I let you leave me again? I haven't signed the divorce agreement, so you're still my wife. Flora was so angry that she wanted to rush over and slap him, but I stopped her, not wanting to dirty her hands. I looked at Matthew and sneered sarcastically. Then what do you want? Do you want me to go back and continue being your wife? Matthew, I've lost 8 children and can't get pregnant anymore. I can't provide nourishment for your Maggie anymore. She should have given birth to your child by now. Why are you still come? Matthew's face turned pale, and he shook his head in a panic. No, Catherine, I didn't mean that. I didn't give her the bodies of our children either. She bribed the people around me to do that on purpose to make you angry. How could I be so heartless? I interrupted him with a cold laugh. So what? Just because you didn't give them to her, you're innocent and can be forgiven. It was her who stole the bodies of the children. But it was you who killed those children with your own hands. Don't you think it's ridiculous to say these things now? There was full of guilt in Matthew's eyes. Catherine, I'm sorry. I really know I was wrong. I've already removed the child in Maggie's belly. She won't come to interfere with us anymore in the future. As long as you like. I can also fight for the position of chairman. Catherine, I'll do anything as long as you come back with me. I looked at his tearful eyes and said word by word, then go and die. What? Matthew was stunned and stared at me in disbelief. You said you'd do anything. Right. Then go and die. Go and pay with your life for my children. For the first time, I saw a look of bewilderment on Matthew's face. Catherine, do you hate me that much? Yes. I don't just hate you. I also disgust you. Just seeing you makes me feel physically sick. So get as far away from me as possible. Do you understand? Matthew seemed to be severely hit and knelt down in front of me, with tears streaming down his face. I looked down at him calmly, feeling nothing in my heart. Matthew, when I married you, I really thought about spending my whole life with you. But what about you? For Maggie's sake, you aborted my children again and again. You watched my body getting weaker day by day and let me suffer the ridicule of your mother and outsiders. Even so, I still begged you. I begged you not to let me drink that glass of milk. But you still forced me to drink it. I've never cared about the status of the chairman's wife. Whether you're rich or not has nothing to do with me. Even the position of your wife. As long as you told me, I would have given it up. I would have taken the child and left far away, never getting in your way. But you didn't say anything and took away my right to be a mother on your own, making me suffer the pain of losing my children again and again. Matthew, admit it. In your heart, you never regarded me as a human being. Matthew shook his head while crying. No, it's not like that. Matthew, I'm living a good life now. It turns out that after leaving you, I'm so free and happy. If you really want to make up for me, sign the divorce agreement and never appear in front of me for the rest of your life. After saying that, I didn't look at him anymore and turned around to leave. Flora poured the whole basket of fish and shrimp with a strong smell of the sea on Matthew's head and threw the basket hard at him. Matthew, if you're still a man, leave Catherine alone and don't bother her again. Matthew knelt for a long time, letting the people around point at him. He didn't leave until late at night, staggering as he walked. The next day, I found a divorce agreement at the door. Matthew finally signed it. A few days later, a huge sum of money, amounting to several $100 million, suddenly appeared in my account. Flora held her phone and ran to me in a fuss. Then what? Since I couldn't let Maggie marry me back then, I'll protect her happiness for the rest of her life. No one can destroy it. Not even the child between me and Catherine, the missing granddaughter-in-law of the Kerwin Group. Ms. Catherine was found dead in the basement of her husband's uncle's house. Her body was in a miserable state, with a huge wound on her abdomen. The fetus was nowhere to be found, and there were other body tissues in her stomach. It is preliminarily determined. Matthew, the president of the Kerwin Group, surrendered himself and confessed to the crime of killing Miss Catherine. In addition, he also confessed that he colluded with Ms. Catherine and gave abortion pills to his pregnant ex-wife several times, causing her to have multiple miscarriages. In the first instance judgment, Matthew was sentenced to death in accordance with the law. His parents fainted at home and have been sent to XXX Hospital for treatment. Luther officially took over the position of chairman of the Kerwin Group. The stock price of the Kerwin Group plummeted, and the estimated loss. Flora was stunned and stammered. Is Matthew crazy? I stared at the balance in the account and didn't say anything for a long time. In the end, I still kept that money and established a Children's Rescue Foundation as a way to accumulate good deeds for my children. I hope they can be born into a good family in their next life. The script was completed smoothly, and Flora and I both made a lot of money. We celebrated at home by drinking. When we were getting drunk, she asked me, Matthew is dead. Do you feel sad? In a daze from the alcohol. For a moment, I seemed to see the day when Matthew and I took the marriage certificate photo. Our heads were leaning against each other, full of beautiful hope for the future life. When I opened my eyes again, I realized it was just an illusion from being drunk. I shook my head and laughed drunkenly. The past is hard to recall. It's better to move on. The end.